Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Devin and I are continuing Middara!
Middara!
It's been a little bit since we've jumped into the world of Middara. What have we been doing instead? What were we playing instead of Middara?
Well, handful now.
Right?
Townsfolk Tussle, we just finished.
Yeah, we did that one. We did Vagrant Song. We did, did
a little online gaming.
Yes, that's true.
We did miss one visit.
Oh, you're right, because holidays and stuff.
Sick and shit.
We are oh, and everyone got sick.
Yeah.
Yep. So, we have just finished Finding Their Way, which, for a recap, is you stop short as Suri holds up a hand. She quickly disappears and reappears a moment later. She warns you that the exit to the next area is going to require a key, and that the creature with the key... Oh, yeah, that's right, we had a boss. With the key is strong. Undeterred by her warnings, you press on. Soon you round a corner and come into another room with an altar in it. An animate stands before the altar, surrounded by cave sickles. The hulking form screeches and sprints towards you. Its axe raised menacingly. Yes, we had that boss, that Earth Loa boss that we kept basically backing around into a corner because you got his fucking shield.
Oh, the super animate. Yeah,
yes,
he was,
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Maw of the Warden.
Yep. So
pretty
what
cool.
What does that do?
Well, like other shields, it provides me an armor. It upgrades it as a teal dice.
Yeah, which
so
is
that's
sexy.
nice. These are nice. Its passive is I can counter with only one special point.
That's
one
good.
stamina point, special point.
Yep.
Derp. And I can exhaust it to roll this for free damage. No damage, but for every shield I roll.
There you go.
That would be 4 damage, just like that.
It's something adjacent, right?
Yes.
Is it adjacent to you or the monster that they are hitting?
Heal an adjacent opponent.
Oh, okay.
Physical damage.
Okay.
So it is free instant damage.
The best thing about that is being able to counter for one.
Yeah.
Is really good. So, winning that, we get to lead the way. And this video, just so everyone knows, so you don't have to pay attention, is going to be all exposition.
All exposition.
It's going to be all this one.
Thank
and
God for the foreteller app.
Yes. It's going to be all... Yeah, this one and the next one for sure is probably just going to be reading. But...
It's like, what happens to, so some weird thing went in her brain.
Yes.
And...
Maybe we'll find
Why were we down here again?
I don't remember.
Like, wasn't she trying to prove something to Daddy? Is that
Aren't
what
they all?
Isn't that the whole... Wasn't that essentially the deal?
Yeah,
she stormed off in a rage.
Yes.
Headed down here because Daddy didn't want her in her own personal guard.
Need, like, a synopsis. Like, a little, the story so far kind of thing. But, yes, we finished the mast and we graduated. And Rook became her guardian, and she's like, I've proven myself. And her dad was like, nah. Nah, you haven't. You can't do anything. We went to Zeke's cool uncle's party and was like, hey, we're neat. This is my cool uncle. And he left to go talk to some people down in the underground white vaults. We followed him and found out that there was a thief trying to steal from them. So that's how we got into that. We found a guy and some giant-eyed hand creature.
Yeah,
thing.
that fucking giant head thing.
Yes, that was...
The guy was talking to it, and then it murdered him.
It killed him, and yes, she got...
And didn't, a shadow creature crawl out of him into her?
Yes, I think so, because she tried to save the guy, and he's just like... and it went, and tentacles, she was strung up, and there was a whole scene. Had to blur out a lot of the pictures.
just a lot of mosaic.
So... Since then, we left, and now we're now her parents, I believe, are gone to another country. So we're trying to figure out what's happening.
But we're still in the dungeon.
We went back.
We did?
Yes, we went back because it's literally called Back to the Vaults.
Oh,
so we left to go talk to her parents, and they're like, "Oh, hey, by the way, we're yeehawing out of here."
Okay.
They're on some not espionage, but like some pompous quest thing. We went back, and that's why we had Rook's weird little girl thing.
Oh yeah.
Lead us back into this, but it was a different way. So
okay, and we're still.
I think that's what this is. So lead the way.
You sure this is the right way? Nightingale asked for the 10th time in the last few minutes, shifting uneasily on her feet. I feel like these halls are looking familiar. Yes, Surrey didn't sound annoyed, no matter how many times Nightingale asked.
It's like, I didn't say you sounded annoyed. I just wanted to reassure you that I'm not annoyed that you keep asking.
I'm not annoyed. I just want you to know that I am not.
I didn't think you were. I just wanted
The way you state that sounds like you're annoyed.
Well, I'm not.
Tone never changed. Why does it matter if we find the place again, Nightingale? Rook asked. Nightingale opened her mouth to remind him that it wasn't her knight's place to question her motives, but caught herself before she actually spoke.
You bitch.
She tried to answer the question, but in the end, all she could come up with was, there must be something important on that pedestal. Maybe our first big find is real adventurers. Might as well check it out at this point, right? Remy came in beside Nightingale, gesturing non-committally with her wings. We've got to be close. You are. Surrey stopped, pointing at a low doorway. The big room you wanted to find is just through there.
I don't remember Surrey being British.
Alright, you are there.
You are!
And
right over there! Oh.
But water.
So, now we head to Nightmare's Manifest.
Oh, joy.
16 minutes.
Alright.
This is an NDG, narrative-driven game.
Very true.
I'm all for it. So, alright. So, nice little art. I do have the top-down camera just for pictures like that, so you get to see Nightingale make an Ahigao face. Oh, the monsters are filling me. Anyway.
Nightmare's Manifest. Zeke kept his weapon drawn and eyes alert as they crept into the massive room. There was no way anything like Hographer would be sneaking up on them, especially since he was sure the monster wouldn't let them escape a second time. Nightingale practically sprinted across the huge space, eyes locked on the pedestal. Not even during the mass had she been so laser-focused. There was no sign of Hographer save for a dark stain on the floor. No body either, for which Zeke was grateful. Thief or not, that man hadn't deserved to be eviscerated by a giant head. Zeke stopped a few steps away from the pedestal, watching the doorways. Get whatever was on the pedestal and we'll run, he called just loud enough that he was sure she could hear him. We can figure out what it is once we're gone. I don't understand, Nightingale muttered, her voice agonized and angry. On the pedestal in front of her, there was an empty space where something of value once was. It was just here. We came all this way and... Suddenly, Nightingale threw her head back and her whole body began to shake. Her scream came so loud and painful that Zeke retreated a step.
She's dead. We gotta go.
I'm gonna yeehaw on it.
I just envision, like, there's a note and it's like, you've been had.
Or they think of this giant box and it's just like little IOU.
I owe you one demonic relic.
Demonic relic.
Horror. Something black and oozing emerged from Nightingale's wailing mouth, gathering in the air in front of her. Zeke repressed a gag of revulsion as the strange mass grew larger and larger.
The weirdest boner right
shifted
now.
out of the human range, joined by 100 discordant voices from the monster's many mouths. Nightingale stumbled backward, collapsing onto the stone mere inches from the ledge. She lay there gasping like a fish, clawing weakly at her throat. Zeke dropped his weapon and stared in horror at the abomination before him. It looked like nothing he had seen before. It was even as bad as Hographer had been. At least that monster was made of flesh and conformed to geometry he could understand. This creature was neither, its hideous form curving in ways that hurt his eyes just to look at. Mouths and eyes and glittering stars all overlapped on its tar-like body. Even as he watched, the outline shifted, eyes melting away to organs he had no names for. It was all he could do not to retch at the sight. Yet it also spoke. It was not like a man, or even like the spirit Surrey, with familiar words and strange intonations. Rather, it was though the monster's voice made the world shake around it. It spoke with 1,000 discordant sounds, grinding stone and shattering glass in the last breath of a dying thief. Less than worthless, the abomination called. Are those from your realm so frail that not even this simple task was within your grasp? Such a feeble vessel is scarcely worth the air you waste by breathing. What are you? Zeke was frozen with shock, his mind struggling and failing to process the monster in front of him. It turned its rage on him. Slugs contained by numbered dimensions. Pretended gods of accidental agelessness. I have seen divinity. I obey no false lords. I am Mallum. Rook charged suddenly past to Zeke, bearing down on the monster, weapon raised in both hands. Get away from her! The thing raged in response, screeching and boiling around Rook like a cloud of hostile smoke. Before Rook could attack the Mallum, it grabbed Nightingale around the head and flowed down over her. Zeke rushed over to help, with Remy not far behind, but they were too slow. By the time they made it to Nightingale's side, the monster had already forced itself back down her throat.
Jesus.
One last flash of shimmering tar and
itself.
it was gone. Remy shoved her way past them, lifting Nightingale gently into a sitting position. She's still breathing. They stared and nobody spoke. Zeke wasn't sure how long they sat there in silence. Eventually Nightingale started to twitch, opening one eye. Remy let her go, and she didn't fall over.
Did they fall for it?
Nightingale's voice was painfully weak. Did you guys see that? Yeah. Zeke's voice was low and worried. We saw. Nightingale practically jumped to her feet, staring down at herself in horror. Where did it go? She patted at her own body as if it was a foreign entity. We'll just get Balthazar. He knows about all kinds of monsters. She stumbled away towards the door, panicking now. Let's go. Night. He sounded hesitant, but he put an arm up to slow her retreat. He already left on the memorial hunt, remember? He's gone. Right. She stopped, her tail whipping about behind her so fast it looked like it hurt. What about Kezia? Or even Yoel? I know you don't like him, but he is your brother, Rook asked. My mom's probably gone by now, and Yoel's an asshole. I'm not even sure he'd know how to help me. He might even just lock me up in a dungeon or something. She swayed a little on her feet. Zeke caught her before she could fall, careful not to step into the path of her tail. Rook frowned. Okay then, what about Shayless? Nightingale didn't slow down, her eyes darting about as she spoke. Oh yeah, if she knows enough to be a teacher at the Institute, she's gotta know about whatever the hell just happened to me. That sounds sensible. Rook's voice was quiet but urgent. We should get her as quick as we can. After making all that noise, who knows what might come this way? Surrey bobbed nearby, looking concerned. I sense that creature is something from my world. Something that shouldn't be in this realm. Nightingale was still for a moment longer, catching her breath. She jerked away from Zeke, heading for the open doorway. Let's just see what we can do to get rid of it as soon as possible. With Surrey's help, they made good time back to the surface without encountering anything that might slow their way. Nightingale seemed to be recovering as they went. By the time they made it back to the surface, she'd stopped swaying, and the color had mostly come back to her skin. Nightingale found her sister alone in one of the upper halls of the...
There's one thing I forgot that the reading for this does, is there's like scene gaps that in the book that at least show you that it's, hey, we're at a new place, and this audio person just reads so, just like, oh, okay, now we're here. It's like, you can take a breath.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I have 16 minutes of straight reading.
castle. Her friends waited downstairs at her request. If she was going to get the information she needed without exposing what she'd done, it would take subtlety that she couldn't manage with everyone else present. Shayless perched atop a banister, tossing a ball against the nearby wall. Her aim was almost perfect, and she caught it each time. Good thing, too, considering the fall waiting for her if she leaned too far back. In the center of the massive spiral staircase was a 3-story drop. Hey, sis! Shayless waved, leaning out a little to catch the ball before it could fly over the edge. Hey! Nightingale waved back awkwardly, leaning against the stone beside her sister. What's up? Shayless looked up. Hiding from the new master and commander, your highness Yoel? Shayless rolled her eyes, then smiled. So, I heard you had some fun in the city. Nightingale looked away, afraid that Shayless would see the lie in her expression. Yeah, we've been having a great time. Just enjoying our new freedom from the Institute, she said it with a forced smile. Shayless went back to bouncing the ball. Just make sure you're being careful. Middara is a dangerous place. Yeah, Nightingale turned, on the pretext of casually looking down at the drop below. So, some people in the city were talking about some kind of monster. Have you ever heard of a Mallum? Shayless stayed focused on the ball. Her tone unchanged. Mallum? Never heard of it. She
The
hopped
demon
down,
god
landing
of
on the
butt
stairs
sex.
just behind Nightingale. You sure?
I've heard quite a lot about him. I was imagining whenever it's just like, hey, Nightingale, you having fun in the city? She's like, yeah. Oh my god, you're possessed.
Yeah, I'm okay. Oh my god.
It wasn't just a rumor. We get a lot of those here. Nightingale tried to hide her disappointment. If Shayless didn't know about the Mallum, Yol sure as hell wouldn't. That only
Yep,
left
Klaus
one
took his
option.
body.
One that Nightingale's going to have to resort to. Yeah, probably.
Oh, hey, yes.
Hello.
Klaus is a dead body. They just knew.
Nightingale started walking away. Thanks anyway, sis. You're the best. Shayless watched her as she hurriedly scurried away. Nightingale hoped that she wasn't too suspicious. Nightingale found her friends waiting for her in the great hall, gathered nervously at the end of a massive table. The room was deserted and there was no trace of Yol or any of the city's other nobility. Rook rose as she approached, hands folded. What did Princess Shayless have to say? Not much, unfortunately. She walked to the edge of the table, but didn't actually sit. She was far too nervous to settle down. She'd never heard of a Mallum. Did you find out about anything from Surrey? Rook shook his head. We tried, but she couldn't stay long. She can only stay in this realm for short periods of time before she's forced to leave. Nightingale sighed, then spoke up. I think I might know somewhere else we could try, but you're not going to like it. Remy and Zeke got to their feet, though it was Rook who spoke first. Hopefully it doesn't involve any more dungeon delving. Nightingale lowered her voice to a whisper, forcing them all to lean in close to listen. It doesn't involve any dungeon delving, but it's probably still dangerous since it's my father's study. That drew the reaction she'd been expecting, stares and concern. Rather than let them form their own objections, Nightingale rushed on. If my father were still here, he'd let us in, she reasoned. He'd probably know what this was without even having to look it up.
So one thing that she does do better, because the statement here is if Balthazar were here, he'd let us in. And I'm guessing from context that those two, Balthazar is her dad.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while since. But it's like, yeah, that's more natural, because she wouldn't call her dad by his first name. It's like, this is written to, hey, remember? The king's name is Balthazar. So, yeah, good on them.
Yeah.
She met Rook's eyes, who looked like he was going to be the first to object. I know you saw it. Nightingale spoke before he could. Whatever a Mallum is, it isn't good. Balthazar's study is my only chance of finding the way to get this damn thing out before it gets worse. There was a brief silence as they considered. Again, it was Rook who spoke first. I heard the king has some incredibly ancient texts in his protection. He sounded hesitant, but also a little excited. I suppose studying them would be a rare privilege. Remy reached into her bag, drawing out a little pouch. She rolled it out on the table in front of them, revealing an intricate-looking set of lock-picking tools. I could probably get us in. 10 minutes later, and she did. The study itself was a 2-story affair with packed shelves filling every spare inch. The lower floor was mostly desk space, while the upper had a wide stone balcony and shelves on both sides. Zeke stopped briefly to take in the massive spectacle of Balthazar's study. The group began searching in relative silence, all conscious of the clandestine nature of their search. Nightingale would take personal responsibility if they got caught, but even so, she doubted Yol would be lenient. Rook was by far the fastest of their group, scanning whole shelves in seconds and selecting a title or two to add to the growing stack in his arms. Within an hour, he'd figured out Balthazar's filing system, and by nightfall, he'd found the only relevant book in the entire library. Rook cleared his throat, startling Nightingale out of her stupor. She dozed in a teetering mountain of books. She caught the largest stack just as it started to sway, preventing a catastrophic landslide. What is it? I think I found what we need. Rook spoke slowly, hefting the tome in both hands. It was an enormous book, nearly 3 whole feet wide. The pages were frayed at the edge, yellow with age. I wish there was more, though.
Jesus.
Zeke hurried down from the upper balcony. Remy looked up from her reading, face buried in the smattering of papers on Balthazar's desk. Nightingale thought that a little strange that she'd be looking through her father's personal papers for clues, but dismissed her concern in the face of finally getting an answer. Rook flipped the book
See the
open to a
videos
page
from
he'd
where
been...
Dad was a swinger.
Yeah, just a lot of fucking, like, like nudes. Oh, never mind.
holding with his finger, scanning until he found the section he wanted. The Mallum parasite cannot be removed except through the destruction of the host. At which point the creature will be forced to take for itself the nearest living creature as its new host, or else be banished from the material world, forced to return to its native realm of Arkala. Rook looked up. There's a long list of people here that were infected or suspected to be infected, and how they died. Nightingale barely suppressed a whimper. She felt strangely numb, staring down at her hands. I'm dead then. My first real adventure, and I get a demon in my head that's gonna kill me. She shivered, her voice stretching into strained laughter.
Rook's like, told you we didn't have to go. Like, not even just, well, so do we want to do it here?
I need to start looking for a job, guys.
Yeah, that's true. You failed to protect her. And, I mean, Zeke's been, I mean, it's for him and Remy this whole time.
He's
Nightingale was
rich
just a
anyway.
side
Who
piece.
cares?
Yeah, it's just, I mean,
She'll go to crime, because where's this gonna
she
go?
can't. I mean, what was Nightingale to any of us?
Yeah.
Besides the central focal point.
Yeah.
I guess Balthazar was right about me being too soft for the demiurge.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed strange to think life had been so optimistic only a few days earlier. Nightingale had an ageless life ahead of her, a future in a prestigious military organization, and friends she trusted. Now all of that was crumbling. Her future would come to a twisted and painful end as a parasite strangled her from the inside. She would be like that mad thief before the end, and there was nothing she could do. Nightingale! Zeke's shout cut through the fog in her head, and she jerked suddenly toward him. What? Tears were brimming in her eyes, threatening to run down her face, and she had a hard lump in her throat as she tried to compose herself. She brushed at her eyes with the back of one arm. What is it? Rook cleared his throat. I didn't finish. There's this part here at the end I think you should hear. He held the book up and spoke more loudly. It is widely known that practitioners of the ancient Theodosian magic employed Mallum as familiars. How they could have prevented the creatures from infecting them is not known, yet the reality of this claim cannot be denied. He trailed off, closing the book. See? Zeke rested one hand gently on Nightingale's shoulder. It's not hopeless. Whoever these Theodosian guys were, they knew how to control them. All we have to do is dig up the technique and... He looked away.
All we have to do is find these ancient people and hidden texts no one's seen for thousands and thousands of years, and do it before this creature inside of you rots you from the inside out. Yeah. It's easy.
High five.
We did it! Everyone's high-fiving except Nightingale. Like, yeah, I say we take a few years break.
Rook, I bet you already found the book on them, right? We probably don't even have to leave the study. Rook sighed, collapsing into a nearby chair. It creaked and strained under his weight. When I found this book, I did search. Unfortunately, there's nothing here. Nothing I can find anytime soon, anyway. He gestured over his shoulder at the thousands and thousands of books. It could take years, assuming there's anything to find. I've heard about Theodosian before, though. It's supposed to be powerful stuff, but until today, I haven't read anything reputable that even verified it actually existed. Finding it will take more than breaking into a study. Remy plopped down beside Nightingale. I might know where we could learn more. Remy had a sheaf of papers in one hand. My father, she sighed. He's not the best person on Middara, but he's in the business of getting information. If anyone could find where we could learn about a long-dead school of magic, it's probably him. Where does he live? Nightingale swallowed hard and tried to regain composure. This bit of hope, albeit however small, stopped her surmounting fear and sadness and was enough to banish the numbness she had started to feel. They'd already conquered a few impossible odds over the last day or two. What were a few more? Remy started flipping through the stack of papers, licking her fingers at each page turn. He's in Romstead. It's a few days' walk from here. Faster if you can fly. Rook set his own large book down, then rose as well. I think it's best we get going. The longer we're here in the study, the more likely Shayless or Yol will catch us. Nightingale looked around as though expecting to see a troop of guards emerging from the upper balcony. You're right, she agreed. Humans are all alike. Nightingale froze as words filled her head. So full of hope. You think that getting rid of me will be so easy? She spun, searching the space around her for the speaker. She saw no one but her friends. The voice wasn't coming from the room. It was coming from inside her.
Ooh.
Is everything all right? Remy's voice interrupted her search. Nightingale realized Remy was staring at her with a concerned look. Did you hear that? Nightingale asked.
Yellow.
Remy cocked her head to the side and raised her eyebrows slowly. Hear what? Are you okay? Nightingale forced a smile. Yeah, I'm fine. We have a plan. Let's head to Romstead. Then in the back of her head, a voice only she could hear continued. Theodosian is a lost magic girl. Try as you might, I'll have your body soon enough. The voice sent a chill through her body. And
Zeke's like,
Nightingale
not if I get
ignored
it
the voice,
first.
blocking it out with all the willpower she could muster. Rook began cleaning up as to not alert Balthazar that someone without his knowledge had ever entered his study. Let's go grab our supplies then. Get on the road before Yol or Shayless realize their sister is missing.
Alright, reward! Nightingale is infected with the Mallum. Reveals small hidden card UM4, which is right here. Ooh, she gets a fucking thing.
Oh, it's a specific
It's
assemblage.
yes, it is.
You call it fourth.
Learns the infection. Exhaust. Deal yourself 1 irreducible damage to reduce the SP cost of an action or ability you're making by 1. It's an exhaust, so that means she could do
your blast or whatever.
the gore. It doesn't take XP, but Bring the Shadows does. Costs 2, so now it can only cost 1. Or yeah, her action it reduced the SP cost of an action, so that means she could attack for 1.
Nice.
Not
but
bad.
for taking damage.
Yeah, 1 irreducible damage. Yeah, and she learns the infection story discipline. Well, neat. All right. So now we will continue to leaving the city of Elenia.
Okay.
I didn't think I was ever gonna need this. But for reference, I don't even know if we can see that. Not really, but I mean, I'll just do this because it doesn't really matter. Yeah, where is City of Elenia? Right
So
up there.
We're leaving there.
We are leaving there because Arson Castle is obviously where she lives.
The Arson Castle.
Yeah. So now, yep,
Okay. And we're going where?
Romstein, Riesum.
Leaving the city of Elenia.
Shut the fuck up. Hold on. We are at Romstead.
Yeah, north. Okay.
Oh, right up here. Okay, neat. So,
Which is Ziggurat.
Nightingale pulled her hood a little lower. Her attempt at anonymity was somewhat spoiled by her horns, which poked from holes in the top of the hood. Her family wasn't
Okay.
the only one that had been granted horns by the advancement, but they were some of the most publicly known in Elenia. The sooner they were out of the city, the happier she would be. Rook too was concealed in a traveling cloak, so much as someone his size even could be hidden. There's Remy and Zeke, just off the road there, he said. Nightingale followed his gesture out the city
It's like a
gates and into
D&D
the
party
thick
trying to be
forest just
inconspicuous.
outside the city.
They're being just the loudest,
Zeke was
most
harder to
diverse
spot,
group.
but Remy hadn't even
Exactly.
bothered to hide. The white
well, normally we just have a bunch of farmers here, but there's these 4 strangers who. There's a giant tiger, there's a dragon, there's a demon, and
blue-skinned fellow?
Yep, and
One that
that's-
floats. It's got a little carpet. That's so
right?
weird.
Yeah, they just must be normal. They all failed their stealth check.
Did you know that the blacksmith on the road was just robbed? Yeah, I wonder who it could be, you know. It hasn't been robbed in like 30 years. We're very small.
Yeah, these
you know?
people just happen to show up, but I'm sure it's just a coincidence.
Yeah, surely.
feathers under her wings almost glowed in the rising moon, making her impossible to miss. You think the guards will give us trouble? She kept her voice at a harsh whisper. Only if they notice you. Most probably served at least a little time in the castle, so they could recognize you. Just keep your head down and I'll do the talking. Right. Nightingale followed behind Rook, putting him between herself and the guards as best she could.
Rook's like, okay, you say right, but I need you to understand. I need to make sure that I understand and you understand me. Shut the fuck up. Right.
Slings her with the
I just don't have any trouble.
While it was possible that Yol might forget about her completely and wouldn't even notice she was gone, Nightingale figured that it was just as likely that her parasite would spontaneously get bored of her and leave Middara behind. She wouldn't bank on either one. The city gates were open tonight, as they always were when the city was at peace. Even so, there was very little traffic on the road just now. The constant stream of trade carts and carriages ended when the sun went down. As most sensible traders knew the perils of night travel, a pair of armed soldiers emerged from the guardhouse as they approached, their armor clinked beneath city colors. Both had heavy crossbows, though only one actually carried it. Little late to be leaving the city, isn't it? Nightingale stood still on Rook's other side, only listening to the female officer. Her voice was suspicious, though heavily laced with boredom. Rook nodded. Not later than we've traveled before. The forest has no dangers my sister and I can't handle. Nightingale kept her eyes down as Rook recited the lies they had practiced. If Yule wanted to come looking for them, they didn't want to leave an easy trail for him to follow. Indeed, the officer walked around past Rook, looking Nightingale up and down. Nightingale didn't recognize the officer. She had undergone some striking features during her advancement that wouldn't have easily been forgotten. Mercifully, though, the officer didn't seem to recognize her either. You're both armed and, she nudged at the heavy packs they wore, apparently well prepared. She stopped right in front of Nightingale, watching her face as she asked, There aren't stolen goods in those packs you're wearing, are there? Nightingale didn't flinch.
You'd be able to stop me if there were.
She supposed that technically they had borrowed some of their camping supplies from her father's stockpile. She had no doubt he would have happily allowed her to take them if he'd been there to ask. No, ma'am, Rook answered, his voice level. Has there been a problem with theft in the city lately? She stared a moment longer into Nightingale's face, then finally turned away. No. She sounded almost reluctant. Thanks to the vigilance of the constabulary, she lifted a clipboard that had been hanging from her belt, proffering it towards Rook. I'm going to need you both to sign this. You'll see there's a place for your destination and when you expect to return. We understand. Rook took the clipboard, scribbling down their lie. He passed it to her, and Nightingale signed with a fake name. The best part of living in a world without Earth technology was the fact that there would be no database to search. The guard took her clipboard back, glanced at their responses, then stepped out of the way. Safe travel, she waved, and the other guard turned to walk away. Don't get into trouble. The Alenia City Watch doesn't rescue lost tourists. Rook waved respectfully. We won't, thank you. They hurried through the open gate before the guards decided to change their minds. Zeke and Remy waved at them from beyond the city gates. The two had left before them to make their departure less suspicious. We were worried they weren't going to let you out, Zeke said as he lit a fresh cigarette. Rook shrugged. Either they didn't recognize us, or they aren't looking for night yet. I think it's a good thing we didn't wait to leave, even if it does mean we have to walk in the dark. Remy saluted back towards the guardhouse. See you later, Alenia.
Alright. It's just like, how often do guards, like, ever change their mind? That's, like, always a thing where it's like, oh, we better get out of here before they change their mind. Do you think they're like, yeah, you can go ahead and go?
You know what? No. You can come back over here.
Right. Exactly. Alrighty. Oh, hey. Wait, well, we didn't even... What the fuck is this? Like, it's useless. But, yep. Now, that was that. We did nothing but sit here for 20 minutes listening.
Lovely.
But... we got this to look forward to. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
But that was chapter 1. This whole thing was all chapter 1.
Wow.
And there are 5... Look at this. There are 5 total chapters.
God damn.
So, yeah. In Act 1. And they're doing... they're planning on doing 3 acts, side stories, like, side campaigns, like, different things for previous acts. Like,
damn.
This is supposed to be their lifestyle game, so...
Wow. Pretty cool.
Right? Yeah. Like, I'm down. So, that was it, everyone, for this video. Next, we will probably just do, once again, everything for Chapter 2 and at least get started on what we want to do. But, yeah, I hope you're enjoying. Stick around for the rest of the series. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.